The seafood industry operates as a trillion-dollar global empire, wielding influence that extends far beyond simple commerce into the very fabric of public health messaging. For decades, this massive machine has targeted one demographic with particular intensity: adults over 60. Marketing campaigns promise vitality, cognitive sharpness, and cardiovascular protection, all wrapped in the appealing package of what appears to be natural, wholesome nutrition. Yet beneath this carefully constructed narrative lies a disturbing reality that few consumers, especially vulnerable seniors, ever discover. The transformation of seafood from genuine health food to industrial product has occurred so gradually that most people never notice the switch. Where fishing vessels once brought fresh catches directly to market, today's supply chains involve massive farming operations, chemical treatments, and processing methods that fundamentally alter the nutritional value of what ends up on dinner plates. The regulatory frameworks meant to protect consumers have instead become tools for obscuring truth, allowing products to carry health claims while harboring compounds that actively undermine well-being. Consider the systematic targeting of older adults through messaging that exploits their legitimate health concerns. Advertisements emphasize omega-3 fatty acids, lean protein, and essential minerals, creating an impression of medical endorsement. Doctors, often working from outdated nutritional guidelines, recommend increased fish consumption without distinguishing between wildly different quality levels. The result is millions of seniors consuming products they believe are extending their lives when evidence suggests the opposite may be occurring. The contamination crisis extends beyond simple pollution. Modern aquaculture practices create environments where toxins concentrate at levels that would have been unimaginable in natural settings. Fish raised in overcrowded pens swim in water saturated with their own waste, requiring constant antibiotic administration to prevent disease outbreaks. These antibiotics do not simply disappear at harvest time. They accumulate in tissue, particularly in fatty areas where seniors are told the most beneficial nutrients reside. Heavy metals present another layer of danger that compounds with age. Mercury, cadmium, and lead bind to proteins in fish flesh, creating stable compounds that resist normal cooking methods. When consumed, these metals bypass many of the body's natural defense mechanisms, accumulating in organs and neural tissue. For young adults with robust detoxification systems, occasional exposure might prove manageable. But seniors, whose kidney and liver function have naturally declined, face accumulation rates that can trigger serious health consequences within months rather than years. The tilapia phenomenon perfectly illustrates how industrial efficiency has corrupted nutritional value. This fish, virtually unknown in Western markets 40 years ago, now dominates seafood sections across the country. Its appeal to producers is obvious: tilapia grows quickly, tolerates crowded conditions, and survives on cheap feed. Marketing departments promote it as an affordable, mild-tasting alternative to more expensive fish, perfect for seniors on fixed incomes. What they fail to mention is that the nutritional profile of farmed tilapia bears almost no resemblance to the wild fish that originally earned positive health evaluations. The omega-6 problem in tilapia represents more than a simple nutritional imbalance. When seniors consume this fish believing they are reducing inflammation, they actually trigger cascading inflammatory responses throughout their bodies. Arachidonic acid, abundant in grain-fed tilapia, converts directly into inflammatory compounds like prostaglandins and leukotrienes. These molecules do not simply cause temporary discomfort. They activate chronic inflammatory pathways that accelerate joint degeneration, compromise cognitive function, and interfere with normal tissue repair processes. Harold's story, while individual, reflects patterns seen repeatedly in clinical practice. His Friday tilapia routine seemed harmless, even virtuous, representing a conscious effort to choose fish over red meat. The gradual onset of symptoms made connecting cause and effect nearly impossible without professional guidance. His aching knees were attributed to age, his declining energy to natural slowing, his mental fog to normal cognitive changes. Only when a trained nutritionist examined his dietary patterns did the connection become clear. The very food he chose for health was systematically undermining his body's ability to maintain itself. The research from Wake Forest University deserves closer examination because it challenges fundamental assumptions about seafood safety. Scientists discovered that farmed tilapia contained omega-6 to omega-3 ratios exceeding 10 to 1, worse than many processed foods seniors are told to avoid. This ratio actively promotes inflammation rather than reducing it, essentially reversing the anti-inflammatory benefits that make fish consumption valuable. For seniors already managing conditions like arthritis, diabetes, or cardiovascular disease, this inflammatory burden can mean the difference between maintaining independence and requiring assistance. Antibiotic resistance adds another dimension to the tilapia problem that extends beyond individual health. Fish farms, particularly those in regions with minimal regulation, use antibiotics not just to treat disease but as preventive measures and growth promoters. These practices create perfect conditions for developing resistant bacterial strains that can transfer to human pathogens. When seniors with already compromised immune systems consume these antibiotic-laden fish, they risk both direct toxicity and increased vulnerability to resistant infections. The global supply chain obscures the true origins and handling of seafood in ways that make informed choices nearly impossible. Fish labeled as products of one country may have been raised elsewhere, processed in a third location, and frozen and thawed multiple times before reaching stores. Each step in this journey presents opportunities for contamination, nutrient degradation, and mislabeling. The senior shopping for healthy protein faces an information asymmetry that heavily favors industrial producers over consumer health. The economic pressures driving these practices are not accidental but represent deliberate business strategies. Producing genuinely healthy seafood requires space, time, and natural feed sources that reduce profit margins. The industrial model maximizes yield per square foot of water, accelerates growth through hormones and engineered feed, and extends shelf life through chemical preservation. Every efficiency gained comes at the cost of nutritional value, yet marketing messages remain unchanged from when fish meant something caught wild that morning. The neurological assault from contaminated seafood strikes aging brains with particular cruelty. Mercury, unlike many toxins that the body can gradually eliminate, binds to neural tissue with an affinity that makes removal extraordinarily difficult. This heavy metal crosses the blood-brain barrier with ease, accumulating in regions responsible for memory formation, motor control, and cognitive processing. For seniors whose neural protection mechanisms have already weakened with age, this infiltration can accelerate decline from gradual to catastrophic within surprisingly short time frames. Swordfish exemplifies this danger perfectly, containing mercury concentrations that routinely exceed what regulatory agencies consider remotely safe. The majestic appearance of a thick swordfish steak on a dinner plate conceals contamination levels that can reach nearly 1 part per million, approaching industrial poisoning thresholds. Yet restaurants serve it as a premium option, and home cooks select it for special occasions, never suspecting they are introducing a potent neurotoxin directly into their bodies. The accumulation pattern of mercury follows predictable yet devastating trajectories in older adults. Initial exposure might produce subtle symptoms easily dismissed as normal aging, occasional forgetfulness, slight hand tremors, mild fatigue. But mercury does not simply pass through the system. It deposits in fatty tissue, particularly the lipid-rich environment of the brain, where it disrupts cellular communication, damages mitochondria, and triggers inflammatory cascades that destroy neurons. Each subsequent exposure adds to this burden, creating a cumulative effect that can suddenly manifest as severe cognitive impairment. Elaine's experience with swordfish-induced mercury toxicity represents countless similar cases that go undiagnosed or misattributed to age-related decline. Her twice-weekly consumption pattern, maintained over months, had pushed her blood mercury levels into ranges associated with occupational poisoning. The fog that descended over her mental clarity was not imaginary or psychosomatic but represented genuine neural dysfunction caused by heavy metal interference with neurotransmitter production and synaptic function. The research published in Environmental Health Perspectives deserves careful consideration because it quantifies what clinicians have observed anecdotally for years. Adults with elevated mercury levels showed measurable degradation in memory tasks, processing speed, and executive function. These were not subtle differences detectable only through sophisticated testing but clear impairments that affected daily functioning. The study particularly noted that recovery, even after eliminating mercury exposure, proved incomplete in many subjects, suggesting permanent damage to neural structures. The salmon deception operates on multiple levels simultaneously, exploiting consumer trust while delivering products that bear little resemblance to their wild counterparts. Marketing materials show pristine waters and leaping fish, creating associations with natural purity. Labels use terms like Atlantic salmon that sound geographic but actually indicate farming operations. Price points remain just high enough to suggest quality while staying accessible to budget-conscious seniors. This careful orchestration obscures a reality where over 80% of salmon in standard supermarkets comes from industrial farms that fundamentally alter the fish's nutritional value. Farm-raised salmon swim in conditions that would horrify consumers if fully understood. Packed into net pens at densities reaching thousands per enclosure, these fish exist in perpetual stress, swimming through water contaminated with feces, excess feed, and chemical treatments. The natural pink color that wild salmon develop from eating krill and shrimp must be artificially induced through synthetic astaxanthin added to feed. Without this dye, farmed salmon flesh would be an unappetizing gray that would never sell, regardless of price. The omega-6 problem in farmed salmon creates particularly insidious health impacts for seniors trying to reduce inflammation. Wild salmon contains omega-3 to omega-6 ratios of approximately 10 to 1, powerfully anti-inflammatory. Farmed salmon often shows ratios closer to 1 to 1 or even inverted, meaning consumers increase inflammatory compounds while believing they are reducing them. This reversal can accelerate arthritis progression, worsen cardiovascular disease, and contribute to cognitive decline, the exact conditions seniors sought to prevent through fish consumption. Barbara's story illustrates how even well-informed consumers can fall victim to labeling practices designed to obscure rather than inform. Her conscious effort to increase omega-3 intake led her to regularly purchase and consume what she believed was healthy salmon. The ankle swelling she experienced resulted from inflammatory compounds triggering fluid retention. Her energy decline reflected mitochondrial dysfunction caused by oxidized fats common in poorly stored farmed fish. The dull skin she noticed indicated that instead of receiving beneficial nutrients, her body was processing damaged lipids that accelerated aging rather than preventing it. The chemical contamination in farmed salmon extends beyond simple antibiotics to include compounds that many countries have banned from human food chains. Ethoxyquin, a chemical developed as a pesticide and rubber stabilizer, is routinely added to fish feed as a preservative. Though prohibited in human food, it remains legal in fish feed, creating a loophole that exposes consumers to a suspected carcinogen. This chemical accumulates in fatty tissue, precisely where seniors are told the beneficial omega-3 fatty acids concentrate. The Journal of Nutrition study comparing blood markers between farmed and wild salmon consumers revealed differences that should prompt regulatory action. Seniors eating farmed salmon showed elevated inflammatory markers, increased oxidative stress indicators, and altered lipid profiles associated with increased cardiovascular risk. These were not minor variations but significant changes that could influence disease progression and mortality risk. Yet this information rarely reaches the consumers who most need it, buried in academic journals while marketing messages dominate public perception. The systematic mislabeling of seafood products compounds these problems by making informed choice nearly impossible. Investigations have repeatedly found that fish sold under one name often represent entirely different species. Farmed fish gets labeled as wild, Pacific species sold as Atlantic, and cheaper alternatives substituted for premium varieties. DNA testing has revealed fraud rates exceeding 30% in some markets, meaning seniors cannot trust that their careful selections actually represent what labels claim. The sodium crisis hidden within luxury seafood products like caviar reveals how perceived sophistication can mask serious health threats. This delicacy, often associated with celebration and refinement, delivers sodium concentrations that assault aging cardiovascular systems already struggling with pressure regulation. A mere tablespoon can contain nearly half the daily recommended sodium limit for healthy adults, a threshold that many cardiologists believe sits too high for seniors managing hypertension or kidney function decline. Robert's weekend caviar indulgence seemed harmless, even beneficial given the omega-3 content marketing materials emphasized. Yet the 1,500 milligrams of sodium per 100 grams created cumulative stress on his vascular system that no amount of beneficial fatty acids could offset. His rising blood pressure readings reflected artery stiffening under repeated sodium assault, while his leg cramps signaled electrolyte imbalances as his body struggled to process excess salt. The medication adjustments his doctor prescribed were essentially fighting against his dietary choices, a battle that medication alone could never win. The physiological impact of excessive sodium extends far beyond simple fluid retention. In aging bodies, high sodium intake triggers calcium loss from bones already weakened by natural density decline. The kidneys, forced to work harder to eliminate excess sodium, suffer accelerated functional decline that can push borderline kidney disease into dialysis territory. Blood vessels throughout the body respond to sodium overload by thickening and stiffening, reducing their ability to dilate properly and increasing stroke risk exponentially. The American Journal of Hypertension Research highlighted a particularly concerning finding about sodium sensitivity in older adults. Unlike younger people whose bodies can somewhat compensate for dietary sodium excess, seniors show exaggerated pressure responses that persist longer and cause more damage. The 33% increased risk of elevated systolic pressure represents not just numbers on a monitor but genuine cardiovascular strain that manifests as headaches, dizziness, and the silent damage that precedes major cardiac events. The transition from dangerous to beneficial seafood choices requires understanding not just what to avoid but what actively supports aging bodies. Sardines emerge as an unexpected champion in this category, offering nutritional density that larger, more popular fish cannot match. These small fish, often overlooked in favor of more prestigious options, deliver a combination of nutrients that specifically address the deficiencies and vulnerabilities common in seniors. The whole body consumption of sardines provides benefits that filleted fish cannot replicate. The tiny bones, completely edible when properly prepared, supply calcium in a form that aging digestive systems can actually absorb efficiently. The skin contains collagen precursors that support joint health and skin elasticity. The organs, consumed along with the muscle, provide concentrated vitamins and minerals often stripped away in processed fish. This complete nutritional package mirrors traditional eating patterns that supported human health for millennia before industrial food processing eliminated these nutrient-dense components. Jim's experience with sardines eliminating his chronic leg cramps demonstrates how targeted nutrition can resolve symptoms that pharmaceutical interventions fail to address. The magnesium, potassium, and calcium in sardines work synergistically to regulate muscle contraction and nerve signaling. The omega-3 fatty acids reduce inflammation that can trigger cramping, while vitamin D enhances mineral absorption and utilization. His improved energy and mobility reflected not just symptom relief but genuine tissue repair and functional improvement at the cellular level. The American Journal of Clinical Nutrition study showing 35% reduced sarcopenia risk deserves emphasis because muscle loss represents one of the most debilitating aspects of aging. Sarcopenia does not simply mean weakness, it means loss of independence, increased fall risk, and cascading health decline that often begins a terminal trajectory. The specific omega-3 compounds in sardines, EPA and DHA, protect muscle cells from inflammatory damage while supporting protein synthesis necessary for maintaining muscle mass. The minimal mercury risk in sardines results from their position in the marine food chain. These small fish feed on plankton rather than other fish, avoiding the bioaccumulation that makes larger predators dangerous. Their short lifespans, typically under 2 years, provide insufficient time for significant heavy metal accumulation. This safety profile means seniors can consume sardines daily without the careful rationing required for larger fish, enabling consistent nutrient intake rather than occasional supplementation. Shark meat, when properly sourced and prepared, offers unique benefits that challenge conventional wisdom about seafood selection. The presence of squalene, a compound under investigation for its anti-inflammatory and immune-modulating properties, sets shark apart from other fish options. This molecule appears to interfere with inflammatory signaling pathways that drive many age-related degenerative conditions, potentially offering protection that extends beyond simple nutrition to genuine therapeutic intervention. The collagen content in shark deserves particular attention because it exists in a form that aging bodies can utilize efficiently. Unlike land animal collagen that requires extensive breakdown before absorption, marine collagen from shark contains smaller peptides that pass more easily through the intestinal barrier. These peptides do not simply provide building blocks for new collagen synthesis, they appear to trigger signaling cascades that stimulate the body's own collagen production machinery, amplifying the benefits beyond what the consumed amount would suggest. Harold's transformation after incorporating weekly dogfish shark into his diet illustrates how targeted nutrition can address multiple aging concerns simultaneously. His reduced leg cramps resulted from improved circulation and nerve function supported by shark's unique nutrient profile. The smoother knee movement reflected genuine cartilage support from bioavailable collagen peptides. Even the cosmetic improvement in skin appearance indicated systemic benefits extending throughout his body, demonstrating that proper nutrition affects every tissue system. The frontiers in pharmacology research on squalamene's anti-inflammatory effects provides mechanistic understanding of why shark consumption benefits seniors so dramatically. The suppression of IL-6 and TNF-alpha, two primary drivers of chronic inflammation, can slow or reverse degenerative processes affecting joints, blood vessels, and neural tissue. These are not minor effects but significant interventions that could delay or prevent the inflammatory cascade that underlies many age-related disabilities. The nutritional complexity of mackerel extends far beyond its reputation as simply another oily fish. This species delivers a precise combination of nutrients that address the specific deficiencies plaguing aging bodies: vitamin D for calcium absorption, selenium for thyroid function, coenzyme Q10 for cellular energy production, and omega-3 fatty acids for systemic inflammation control. Unlike supplements that provide isolated nutrients, mackerel offers these compounds in natural ratios that enhance absorption and utilization, creating synergistic effects that manufactured vitamins cannot replicate. The clinical trial published in Nutrients demonstrating 24% improvement in walking speed and leg strength within 6 weeks represents a remarkable intervention that surpasses many pharmaceutical treatments for age-related mobility decline. These improvements resulted not from targeting a single pathway but from comprehensive nutritional support that addressed multiple systems simultaneously. Muscle cells received the fatty acids needed for membrane integrity, mitochondria obtained coenzyme Q10 for energy production, and inflammatory markers decreased throughout the body, creating conditions where genuine tissue repair could occur. Harold's transformation from struggling with stairs to climbing confidently illustrates how proper nutrition can reverse what many assume to be irreversible age-related decline. His hamstring cramps resulted from a combination of electrolyte imbalances, poor circulation, and inflammatory muscle damage that Mackerel's nutrient profile addressed comprehensively. The omega-3 fatty acids rebuilt damaged cell membranes, allowing proper nutrient exchange and waste removal. The vitamin D enhanced calcium utilization, preventing the spontaneous contractions that characterize cramping. The anti-inflammatory effects reduced the chronic irritation that made his muscles hyperreactive to normal stimuli. The antioxidant content in mackerel deserves particular emphasis because oxidative stress accelerates every aspect of aging from cellular dysfunction to visible skin changes. The selenium in mackerel serves as a cofactor for glutathione peroxidase, one of the body's primary antioxidant enzymes. This enzyme protects blood vessels from oxidative damage that leads to atherosclerosis and reduced circulation. For seniors whose natural antioxidant production has declined, dietary sources become critical for maintaining protective capacity against free radical damage. The impact on nerve function from regular mackerel consumption extends beyond simple nutrient supply to actual nerve regeneration support. The specific fatty acids in mackerel incorporate directly into myelin sheaths that insulate nerve fibers, improving signal transmission speed and accuracy. This enhancement manifests as better balance, reduced numbness, and improved reaction times, all critical factors in preventing falls and maintaining independence. The difference between supplementation and whole food sources becomes apparent here, as isolated omega-3 supplements rarely achieve the comprehensive nerve support that mackerel provides. Mullet emerges as perhaps the most underappreciated seafood option for seniors, offering a nutritional profile specifically suited to addressing age-related tissue breakdown. The glycine content in mullet surpasses most other fish, providing the rate-limiting amino acid for collagen synthesis. Without adequate glycine, the body cannot produce sufficient collagen regardless of vitamin C intake or other supporting nutrients. This deficiency manifests as sagging skin, weakening tendons, deteriorating cartilage, and the general loss of structural integrity that characterizes physical aging. The research published in Amino Acids showing 33% improvement in collagen production from increased glycine intake reveals the profound impact of the single amino acid on tissue health. Collagen is not merely a cosmetic concern but the primary structural protein supporting joints, blood vessels, organs, and skin. Its degradation underlies many symptoms seniors attribute to normal aging: morning stiffness, easy bruising, slow wound healing, and joint pain. By providing bioavailable glycine, mullet enables the body to maintain and repair these critical structures. Denise's experience with weekly mullet consumption demonstrates how targeted nutrition can restore function that seemed permanently lost. Her improved balance resulted from stronger connective tissue in her joints, providing better proprioceptive feedback. The reduced morning stiffness reflected genuine cartilage repair rather than simple symptom masking. Her brighter skin indicated improved collagen synthesis throughout her body, a visible sign of systemic regeneration occurring at the cellular level. These improvements came not from exotic treatments or expensive supplements but from simple dietary modification. The digestibility of mullet makes it particularly suitable for seniors whose digestive capacity has declined with age. The proteins in mullet break down easily, requiring less stomach acid and enzyme production than tougher meats. This easier digestion means nutrients actually reach the bloodstream rather than passing through unabsorbed. For seniors taking acid-blocking medications or dealing with reduced digestive enzyme production, this improved bioavailability can mean the difference between adequate and deficient nutrition despite consuming similar quantities of food. The practical implementation of beneficial seafood consumption requires understanding not just what to eat but how to source and prepare it properly. Wild-caught labels must specify the actual catch method and location, as some wild-catching techniques cause enough stress to degrade meat quality. Frozen fish, if properly handled, often contains more nutrients than fresh fish that has been poorly stored. The method of cooking matters tremendously, with gentle steaming or baking preserving delicate omega-3 fatty acids that high-heat methods destroy. Storage and handling at home determine whether beneficial nutrients reach the table intact. Fish should be consumed within 2 days of purchase or properly frozen to prevent oxidation of beneficial fats. Marinating in acidic solutions like lemon juice begins breaking down proteins for easier digestion while adding antioxidants that protect fatty acids during cooking. Simple preparations that avoid heavy battering or deep frying preserve the nutritional value that makes seafood consumption worthwhile. The economic argument for choosing quality seafood over cheaper alternatives becomes compelling when considering the total health impact. The cost difference between farmed tilapia and wild sardines might seem significant at the register, but the long-term savings in reduced medication needs, maintained independence, and avoided medical procedures far exceed the initial investment. Seniors spending hundreds monthly on supplements might achieve better results from redirecting those funds toward quality seafood that provides nutrients in forms the body actually recognizes and utilizes. The broader implications of informed seafood choice extend beyond individual health to environmental and ethical considerations that affect everyone's future food security. Supporting sustainable fishing practices through conscious purchasing decisions helps ensure that beneficial seafood remains available for future generations. Choosing smaller, faster reproducing species reduces pressure on threatened populations while often providing superior nutrition. Understanding these connections empowers seniors to make choices that benefit both personal health and planetary well-being. The transformation possible through informed seafood selection is not theoretical but practical and achievable. Seniors who have spent years accepting decline as inevitable can experience genuine improvement in strength, cognitive function, and overall vitality through simple dietary changes. The science supporting these benefits continues accumulating, with each study reinforcing what traditional cultures have long known. The sea provides unique nutrients essential for healthy aging that no other food source can fully replicate. The key lies not in consuming more seafood but in choosing the right types, prepared properly, from clean sources that actually deliver the benefits that marketing has long promised but industrial practices have failed to provide.